Hi guys, welcome to Smashing Sunday. My name's Tracey. This week we've been talking about messages in recovery. So what I want to do is I want to split them down into different question headings and cover it in that way. So the first question I have is, what do you have to recover from? Now, the most unhelpful messages in recovery kind of come under this heading. How many of us have been told we're not sick enough, we don't look ill enough. You know, we take these things on board and we accept in many ways that if we're not collapsed from malnutrition, if we're not visibly sick, if we're not, if we don't have that lowest of low BMIs, then we're not ill. And for me, the reality is that any disordered eating, whether it fits the diagnostic criteria from the DSM-4 or whatever else the Americans use, ICD-10 I think it is, whether you fit that diagnostic criteria or not, for me, isn't an indication exactly, or isn't the only indication that you have a problem with food. It might not be an eating disorder as such, but disordered eating in itself is a problem. So maybe you need to think about recovering from disordered behaviours if you have periods where you intentionally starve yourself, where you binge or purge or binge and purge, abuse laxatives, abuse diuretics, are obsessively healthy. Maybe you have periods where you want to eat certain colours of food, certain shapes of food, certain textures. It might be that you have to eat your meal in a certain way. You know, anything where you have rituals around food that kind of aren't necessary, shall we say, to eat that food. For me, that's disordered eating. And you know, your issues are bad enough for you. If you're watching this video, the chances are that you have some sort of eating disorder, know that you have a dysfunction with your eating in some way, or are doing, your best to help somebody else who does. And for me, the important thing is that you recognise you have a problem. Granted, it helps if you get support professionally, and I would always recommend trying that, but I know a lot of people don't get that support. That doesn't mean you don't get to recover, that just means it's going to be that bit harder for you to do that. But you can recover. So what is recovery? For me, recovery means curing that which can be cured, treating that which can be treated, and learning to live with everything else. And for me, I've never believed in recovery as this sort of magical land where all is well and there's no trace of an eating disorder, or no trace of any mental health problems, I guess, because I don't think it's realistic. And I know that there are people who do believe that place exists and have reached that place, and I think that's wonderful for them. I really do, and I have faith in those people and in that recovery of theirs. For me, even if I am entirely recovered in terms of the behaviours that I do every day are completely gone, and I'm healthy and all that good stuff, the fact that I have a vulnerability to certain mental health problems, is always going to be there. And for me, it's important that I remember that so that I work to maintain my recovery. And that doesn't mean life is all about just kind of obsessively staying in recovery. Life is about living. But I do think it's important to remember where my vulnerabilities are so that I can safeguard against relapses. And you develop your own understanding. As long as you're covering the basic thing that recovery means actually eating and eating well and a balanced intake and, exercising in moderation and working towards health and well-being, then it's recovery, in my humble opinion anyhow. So what stops me from recovering? I can't speak for anybody else but me, but for me, what stopped me from recovering, or the biggest thing, was actually me. I am stubborn as a mule, and that's a fantastic quality when you're actually in recovery, because it's that thing that kind of refuses to give up. It's also a horrendous thing when you're in the depths of being ill, because you will cling more solidly to illness. And it's that thing of I used to say with smoking, when I smoke, I would quit, but my mum taught me never to be a quitter, and it is that kind of mentality. And I found that I would give myself these messages of just one more day, or just one more time, or just one more this, or one more that. One more doesn't exist. This is the last, or that was the last rather. That was the last is a good way of looking at things, because it's shutting a door. But when you kind of say just one more, there's always just one more. Don't kid yourself. So I guess the most positive message in that sense was that I can choose. I have a choice. I never chose to get ill. Nobody does. But we can choose to get better, and we can choose to channel our energies towards better things. And, I think that's important. And I say that from a place of not, I'm not a perfect person. Far from it. I'm a screw up. Have been incredibly messed up. I've gotten better, but I'm still a bit of a kook. And, I'm not perfect. And I'm not sitting here telling you these things because I'm some kind of fountain of knowledge or something. I'm sharing my experiences with you in the hope that you will get ideas from them, or that you will be comforted that you are not the only person in this, and that it's possible to get better. And, I guess sometimes we can't give ourselves the best messages. So be careful who you do turn to, but turn to other people for encouragement and for a reality check. And the amount of times Rachel's kicked me up the backside, and I've said it before because it's ingrained in my memory. When I was abusing laxatives, Rachel just said to me, Tracey, you may never shit again. And that stayed with me. And I haven't used laxatives in a very long time, but that perspective and that kind of humorous but very stern kick up the backside was exactly what I needed. So do turn to other people. Like I say, turn to people who are well, but draw things from other people. I think, again, going back to the you're not sick enough thing, that's another big thing, blocking recovery. We tell ourselves that if the doctor doesn't think we're ill, then we're not. And, that might be the case sometimes, but I think more often than not with eating disorders it isn't. It just means that you're not at a place where you tick all the boxes for the diagnostic criteria. That doesn't mean you have to settle for the life you have with the problems you have. It just means that maybe you need to go elsewhere for support. And there are places, our website has some bits and bobs on it. You can contact us anytime. We will contact other people on your behalf to try and get, you some support, and do the best we can for you. You're not on your own. So instead of taking those messages on board and making them law, just choose to get help yourself. Choose to be your own physician. Choose to trust yourself and trust your judgment. If you're thinking, this feels really screwed up, this doesn't feel right, this is uncomfortable, this hurts, then do something about it. And if the doctors can't fix it, then you fix it and get support to do that. The next thing I had was what helps me to recover. I'm smiling because this is such a nice section of a video. Positive recovery messages. For me, the most positive recovery messages came initially from my friends, and they were the kind of messages I guess some of them were kind of about how important I was as a person, and reminders that that I'm unique and that I deserve good things, and that the things that have happened in the past and the things that I've experienced don't have to continue happening to me forever. And encouragements that I'm strong, that I'm capable, and reinforcing that messages about what I can get in recovery. You know, little things like I recovered because, fill in the blanks, you know, or little quotes people sent me. There was one that said something like, why recover? To me, the question's entirely ridiculous. It's like asking a seed why grow. And I have no idea where that comes from. I just remember it. But, you know, those messages, those encouragements, they came on emails, post-it notes, Facebook notes, through internet forums, through letters, cards. Actually, the frame just behind me, the pink frame, that's one Rachel, it's a picture Rachel drew for me, and that has little quotes and things on it. You know, these things came in lots of different forms, but they came with the same message, which was basically that I'm capable, that I can do it, that I'm worthwhile, I'm worth the effort, and that it gets better. And I know that's kind of a popular slogan at the minute with the campaign videos that I've been running, but it does get better, and it really does. So they helped me an awful lot. I think in terms of what I did for myself, I think the biggest things I did was to make the changes in my behaviours, in my food intake, to stop starving myself, to stop binging, to stop overeating, to stop purging, and to actually regulate the behaviours. And the reason I say this is because I think a lot of the time we do a lot of work in changing attitudes and changing understandings, which is completely valuable, but you ain't going to get any better if you don't change the behaviours too. And that's the reality of it. And I know it's hard, and the amount of times that I felt I let myself down and cried myself to sleep because I felt so hopeless and stupid and useless and everything else, it gets better, you know. I wish I could promise you that it will be easy, and I wish I could make it easy for you, but it just isn't easy. It is hellish, it is a nightmare, it is painful, but then so is an eating disorder, you know, so is being sick. But then at least with recovery you come to a better place. With being ill, it just gets worse, and you know you're worth more than that. And the final thing I want to talk about is, how do I maintain recovery? For me, this helps, being able to share my experiences with other people. And you know, my training course, I'm training to be a mental health nurse, and that helps me as well, because I have to try to keep myself well, if not for me, then for my job, and to be able to talk to you guys and stuff. And you know, I have been unwell recently, with my mental health, in terms of my mood and things like that, and particularly my anxiety. So you know, it's difficult, but I mean, with that, I took myself out of uni. I'm on a break until December, and I'm really trying to take care of myself, and I find that really difficult. And you know, I'm being completely honest with you, it is not a natural thing for me to care for me, and I have to put a lot of effort into it. It's much easier for me to care for somebody else, but I recognise that I'm not doing them, and you know, justice by being a hypocrite, and you know, doing all this stuff for them and telling them all this wonderful stuff, and then just going home and tormenting myself. You know, we have to care for ourselves as well. So taking time, you know, and whatever works for you. For me, art therapy works. Painting, drawing, I'm rubbish at them, but it's fun. Writing, poetry, spending time with my animals, taking walks, you know, when I can manage with my anxiety outside, speaking to friends, and just generally working to try and take better care of myself. And it takes practice, but it does work. And I think as your self-awareness increases, you get to a point where you know what's bad for you, you know what's going to make you worse, you know what's going to send you back over. You recognise the signs of relapse quicker, and you learn to deal with them quicker. And you know, that comes with recovery. So I guess the act of recovery maintains recovery in a way. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I'm out of time. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.